The top stories tonight in Y News. President Ferdinand Marcos Jr. arrived in Manila after his two-day state visit in China, securing billions of dollars in investment pledges from Chinese investors. In support for the call of the Department of Interior and Local Government, Secretary Benhur Abalos, Philippine National Police Chief Police General Rodolfo Azurin Jr. confirms that he and the entire command group of the PNP have already submitted their courtesy resignation. A former transport official denies the alleged diversion of funds supposedly intended for the country's air traffic control system. And while coronavirus cases continue to increase in China, New Zealand drops their negative COVID-19 test requirement for Chinese travelers. Good evening, Philippines and the world. Today is Thursday, January 5, 2023. Join us in the next hour as we deliver today's top stories around the Philippines and in other parts of the world. We are also seen in 1,935 satellite monitoring centers nationwide and via live streaming worldwide through the UNTV News and Rescue social media channels. I am William Theo. First in the news, President Ferdinand Marcos Jr. arrived in Manila after his two-day state visit in China. According to Malacañang Palace, the president has secured billions of dollars worth of investment pledges from Chinese investors. Nel Maribuhok reports.
President Ferdinand Marcos Jr. reported that Philippines and China have agreed to further increase a more balanced bilateral and expand capital market cooperation. In his arrival speech in Villamor Air Base in Pasay City, the president said both sides agreed to further strengthen cooperation in trade, agriculture, infrastructure, and other areas.
We both noted the large trade deficit with China, but President Xi also said that China is willing to import more quality agricultural produce from the Philippines. And specifically, was mentioned very often was the importation of durian.
President Marcos Jr. said he and President Xi had an in-depth and frank discussion on the West Philippine Sea issue. The chief executive said he discussed about the independent foreign policy of the country.
I emphasized to President Xi how my administration intends to pursue an independent foreign policy, that we are more than willing to cooperate whenever possible in the pursuit of regional peace and our two countries' national interests.
PBBM said that they have agreed that maritime issues between two countries do not comprise the entirety of the relations of the Philippines and China, but acknowledged that they remain a significant concern and priority for the Philippines and for the region, President Marcos added. The president reported also that the two countries have signed 14 bilateral agreements and tackled the energy cooperation.
On energy cooperation, we agreed to resume discussions on oil and gas development and explore opportunities for renewable energy such as solar, wind, photovoltaic energy, and even we touched upon nuclear energy.
According to Malacañang Palace, Chinese investors have committed $22.8 billion in investment pledges. These investment commitments are from agribusiness, renewable energy, electric vehicle, and mineral processing. Nel Maribuhok, UNTV News and Rescue. We serve the people, we give glory to God.
The Kadiwa stores will continue to operate in 2023. This was assured by the Department of Agriculture spokesperson and Assistant Secretary Christine Evangelista. Agricultural products are being sold in Kadiwa lower than the price in markets. It includes sugar for only 70 pesos per kilogram, rice for 25 pesos, and onions for 170 pesos per kilogram.
Madadagdagan po definitely yung 350 areas ng Kadiwa. Expect that there should be a Kadiwa in every municipality nationwide po yan.
In other news, the camp of model Denise Cornejo has filed a motion for reconsideration to assail the bail grant for actor-comedian Vong Navarro. Navarro's camp, meanwhile, will file a comment opposition. Dante Amento tells us why.
Attorney Maggie Abraham Garduque, Vong Navarro's legal counsel, confirmed that Model Denise Cornejo filed the motion for reconsideration last December 2022. Cornejo wants to overturn the recent decision of Taguig City Regional Trial Court Branch 69 that allowed Navarro to post bail for his temporary liberty.
The motion for reconsideration is, of course, wants to assail the decision or the resolution of the court with regard to the granting of the petition for bail that was filed by Vong. Basically, they're opposing some portions of the decision with respect to, number one, yun daw, failure to file a formal offer of evidence.
Cornejo also urged the court to issue a new warrant of arrest against Navarro and asked Judge Loralee Cruz Datahan to inhibit from the case for the alleged partiality on the case.
Kasi yung ground for motion for inhibition is based on alleged partiality or bias on the part of the court. But we believe that there's none because all the requirements in the hearing for petition for bail and the issuance of the order or decision with respect to petition for bail was being complied with by the court.
Meanwhile, Navarro's camp will file a comment to oppose Cornejo's motion for lack of merits. The actor-comedian was released from jail last December 6, 2022 after posting 1 million pesos bail.
We will not preempt whatever will be the resolution on the court with respect to this. But of course, as part of the defense team, we are opposing this, and we personally believe that this motion for reconsideration has no merit. Thus, we will be opposing this motion for reconsideration.
Dante Amento, UNTV, News and Rescue. We serve the people. We give glory to God.
Suspended Bureau of Corrections or Bucor Chief Gerald Bantag has filed criminal and administrative complaints against Department of Justice or DOJ Secretary Crispin Boying Rimulya at the Office of the Ombudsman on Wednesday, January 5. Bantag accused Rimulya as mastermind over the killing of broadcaster Percy Lapid and alleged middleman June Villamor. Bucor Officer in Charge Director Pio Katapang is among the respondents as an alleged co-conspirator in allowing the transfer of some inmates from the New Bilibid prison to testify against Bantag. Bantag also urged the Ombudsman to impose preventive suspension against Rimulya and Katapang. Meanwhile, in an ambush interview this evening, Rimulya called Bantag's action as desperate acts of a desperate person. Philippine National Police Chief Police General Rodolfo Azurin Jr. confirms that he and the entire command group of the PNP have already submitted their resignation. This is in support for the call of the Department of Interior and Local Government Secretary Benhur Abalos for the police colonels and generals to resign from the service. Leah Ilagan will tell us why.
The Philippine National Police or PNP leadership sees the submission of courtesy resignation as a way to end the issue of the resurgence of ninja cops in the organization. That's why PNP Chief Police General Rodolfo Azurin Jr. appeals to the third-level official to heed to the call of Department of Interior and Local Government or DILG Secretary Benhur Abalos to tender the resignation, just like as he does as well as the other members of the command group.
Ang unang process na ginagawa natin is let them discern. Let them discern if they're willing to be subjected. Pag hindi, sabi ko nga, we always go back to it's a test of individual character. Alam mo pala sabi ko nga, pride na yon. Hinihingi na nga ng authority, hinihingi na nga ng organization. We are being challenged here, actually. So this is more of a test of character, of our morality. So ano yung pipiliin mo? Yung moral issue o yung pride mo?
Azurin also challenged the at least 10 senior officials who are allegedly involved in illegal drugs to prove their innocence by submitting a resignation letter. The resignation will be accepted until January 31, before the start of the assessment and evaluation of the five-man committee.
We already communicated to everyone, to all the commanders. Definitely, alam na rin nila yon na they are being requested. They are being challenged to submit. And kung ako, sabi ko nga is, I will submit myself para matapos na.
Chief PNP also said he already submitted 22 names to President Ferdinand Marcos Jr. for the selection of the five-man committee.
It will always be the President who will select. Actually, we submitted 22 names, and it does not limit the President from looking into other possible members ng five-man committee. These are just people whom we thought na they have proven yung unblemished record while in the government service.
The PNP has a total of 956 colonels and generals, all expected to submit courtesy resignation until January 31st. This consists of 1 general, 8 lieutenant generals, 21 major generals, 114 brigadier generals, and 812 full-fledged colonels. Leia Ilagan, UNTV, News and Rescue. We serve the people. We give glory to God.
Shear line and the northeast monsoon affect most parts of Luzon and Visayas. Based on the latest forecast of the Philippine Atmospheric, Geophysical and Astronomical Services or PAGASA, expect scattered rain showers over Metro Manila, Central Luzon, Calabarzon, Bicol Region, Mimaropa, and Visayas. Rains will also be experienced in Cagayan Valley and Cordillera Administrative Region. Expect light rains over Ilocos Region. There are also isolated rain showers and thunderstorms over Mindanao. As of 3 p.m., a low-pressure area, or LPA, was located at 410 kilometers northwest of Coron, Palawan. According to PAGASA, it has no direct effect on the country.
And for our news abroad, while coronavirus cases continue to increase in China, New Zealand has decided to drop their negative COVID-19 test requirement for Chinese travelers. Paul Gatchalian details why live. Good evening, Paul.
Good evening, Giona. According to New Zealand's COVID-19 Minister Aisha Veral, they have conducted public health risk assessments with multiple potential case numbers within Chinese visitors and concluded that entry requirements are not needed. The decision contrasts multiple countries around the world, like Australia, which maintained entry requirements of a negative COVID-19 test as the case of the Omicron subvariant BF7 continues to increase in China. Minister Veral acknowledged this, stating that the BF7 has not resulted in major outbreaks around the world, like in New Zealand, having been exposed to subvariant BA5, adding that New Zealanders are safe without public health measures. But Minister Veral added, due to China's COVID-19 case data being unreliable, New Zealand will be collecting information from Chinese travelers who are willing to do voluntary tests. Meanwhile, international travelers visiting New Zealand are still required to undergo a COVID-19 test and produce a negative result if symptomatic. Back to you, Giona.
Thank you, Paul, for that live report. The fight against inflation saw job openings slip by 54,000 to 10.46 million on the 30th of November last year. But a survey from the Institute for Supply Management showed encouraging data if an early plunge in the COVID-19 pandemic is discontinued. Monica Canlas tells the details.
The labor market remains tight as the number of job openings in the United States has fallen less than expected in November 2022. Analysts say this could lead to the Federal Reserve raising interest rates more than anticipated to tame inflation. About 1.7 jobs are available for every unemployed American, according to the data based on the monthly job openings and labor turnover survey. Sectors in society that saw a significant increase in job openings include non-durable goods, manufacturing, healthcare and social insurance sector, and professional and business services, which have reported an additional 212,000 job openings. However, job openings saw a drop of 75,000 in finance and insurance. It also fell by 44,000 in the federal government. The still tight labor market conditions were backed by a 125,000 climb in the number of people quitting their jobs. Meanwhile, manufacturers see a drop in input prices, which helps slow price increase. In a separate report on Wednesday, January 4, the Institute for Supply Management said its measures of prices paid by manufacturers fell to 39.4 last month from 43 in November. Monica Canlas, UNTV News and Rescue. We serve the people, we give glory to God.
We'll share more global stories with you later, but for now, back to you, William.
Yes, thank you, Giona. A former transport official has denied the alleged diversion of funds supposedly intended for the country's air traffic control system. Harleen Delgado will tell us why.
Former Department of Transportation, or DOTR, Undersecretary Artemio Ochi Tuazon refuted the allegation that the former leadership of the agency diverted public funds. Tuazon, who served as Undersecretary for Administration Services of the DOTR during the Duterte administration, denied the allegation that former Transport Secretary Arthur Tugade allegedly diverted 13 billion pesos allotted for the backup of the Communications, Navigation and Surveillance Air Traffic Management, or CNS ATM system in 2018 to beautification projects at the Ninoy Aquino International Airport. The former official said there was no 13 billion pesos allotted for the said backup of the system. He said what was contained in the 2018 national budget was the fund only for the maintenance of the CNS ATM system, amounting to 122 million pesos. In the copy of the 2018 General Appropriations Act, a 122.2 million peso allocation was lodged for the new CNS ATM system development project.
We checked 2018 and we checked even the subsequent years up to 2022 when we stepped down in June. There were no such funds given to us. There being no funds, there's nothing to divert. We really don't know. We don't know kung saan yung sinasabi ng 13 billion. If they can show us where it is, and if we made a mistake or we failed to act on it, then we will admit our mistakes. It's a form of misinformation eh.
Tuazon also took a swipe at transport officials, blaming the supposed outdated system and the technical glitch that caused the airspace shutdown on January 1. The former official believes there was negligence in maintaining the uninterruptible power supply, or UPS system, which caused its failure.
We believe that the UPS system was not even properly maintained. May periodic may periodic maintenance schedules yan eh. If the problem is the UPS, why will you make a solution by changing the system? There was nothing wrong with the system. It was working perfectly well until there was a power outage and the UPS failed to kick in.
Despite this, Tuazon is confident that Tugade is ready to attend the Senate inquiry, noting that the former secretary does not want to dignify the allegations.
Secretary Tugade will appear. He is not hiding anything. He will be very transparent with everything. And I think the facts will support him.
He also has an appeal to incumbent transport officials.
Pag ganyang merong problema, if they can just address the problem and do not resort to finger pointing.
In a statement released on Wednesday, the DOTR said a top-level meeting was held where the heads of several agencies agreed to immediately upgrade the existing facilities and replace the affected equipment. It added that the technical glitch does not appear to be a cyber attack, saying that the affected electrical equipment cannot be manipulated outside the compound of the Civil Aviation Authority of the Philippines, or CAAP. However, it noted a review will still be conducted by cybersecurity experts. An internal investigation of the CAAP is ongoing, while the Senate will begin its inquiry on the issue on January 12. Harleen Delgado, UNTV News and Rescue. We serve the people. We give glory to God.
Maynilad estimated that the normal operation of the Putatan water treatment plant will be back on January 15. The water concessionaire said that they are now fixing the filter that malfunction coincided with the high turbidity of water in December last year due to the effect of the northeast monsoon in Laguna Lake. Maynilad deploys 66 water tankers to supply waters in affected areas. Affected connections are now down to more than 200,000 from almost 300,000 when the problem in the plant occurred.
Yung nangyari po noong December, mayroon pong nag-breakdown na isang equipment, and yung pag-breakdown po niya nasabayan din po nung hanging amihan na naka-apekto po dun sa kalidad ng raw water namin mula sa Laguna Lake.
But MWSS warns Maynilad that they will not improve their service, they will impose a fine. Scheduled tariff rate increase in 2024 would not also be approved.
So importante po yan na ayusin po nila yung serbisyo nila. Kung hindi po nila makukuha ang kanilang rate adjustments next 2024. Conditional po ang ating approval.
President Ferdinand Marcos Jr. on Thursday, January 5, secures a $2 billion deal with China to increase the export opportunities of high-value fruit and agricultural products for the Philippines. Marcos Jr. has highlighted the high economic potential of the country's agriculture sector that has been placed at the forefront of the post-pandemic economic recovery strategy of his administration. The Department of Agriculture, or DA, of the Philippines and China General Administration of Customs has signed a deal for phytosanitary requirements protocol for the export of fresh durian, coconut, bananas, among others, from the Philippines to the world's most populous nation. During his remarks at a roundtable discussion with chief executive officers or CEOs from the agriculture sector in Beijing, China, PBBM shared the advantage of the signed protocol for the export of fresh Philippine durian that would open opportunities for Philippine exporters and Chinese importers. The chief executive has assured business leaders that durian growers in the country that was represented by the Davao Durian Industry Association are equipped to meet the demand requirement of the Chinese market. Meanwhile, a Pulse Asia survey shows that majority of Filipinos want the Marcos administration to partner with the United States and Japan to defend the country's sovereignty in the West Philippine Sea. Janice Inhente will tell us why.
Following the three-day state visit of President Ferdinand Marcos Jr. to China, where he and Chinese President Xi Jinping discussed the issue in the West Philippine Sea, or WPS, and the joint oil exploration, majority of Filipinos believe that Marcos administration should strengthen the Philippines' relationship with the United States and Japan in order to protect our rights in the West Philippine Sea. In a survey of Pulse Asia conducted last November 27 to December 1, 2022, of the 1,200 adult Filipinos surveyed nationwide, 84% of the respondents believe that U.S. could help strengthen the capacity to defend our rights to our sovereignty that has been claimed by China, while 52% of respondents agreed that the Philippines should strengthen our security cooperation with Japan to fight for the West Philippine Sea.
United States should be the primary entity that we should strengthen our cooperation with. Second is Japan. More than half of the Filipinos agree or think that our relations with Japan should expand in terms of security cooperation.
There are some saying that the Philippines should form an alliance with the countries of Australia, the United Kingdom, and South Korea if we want to defend our country's ocean sovereignty. Meanwhile, 50% of the respondents believe that the administration of President Ferdinand Marcos Jr. should prioritize the strengthening of military capability, especially the Philippine Navy and Coast Guard, to effectively address issues in West Philippine Sea. 29% also says the government should conduct joint maritime patrol and military exercises with allied countries.
Half of Filipinos think that the Philippines should increase its military capability, and this is a very important finding in terms of all of these options that are stated here. It appears that many Filipinos believe that it is our capability that will determine the extent by which we can defend our territorial integrity and address issues in the West Philippine Sea.
Meanwhile, some of our citizens have expressed their opinions on the Marcos administration's treatment on the issue relating to the West Philippine Sea.
Sana po maging okay yung pag-handle ng Pangulo natin, especially teritoryo ng bansa natin to, dapat ingatan.
I wish that President PBBM will do the right thing and have an agreement with China to let the people of our nation use of the West Philippine Sea instead of just giving.
Janice and Hente, UNTV, News and Rescue. We serve the people, we give glory to God.
Lawmakers in Congress call for an investigation on the power outage and system glitch that occurred on January 1. Bagong Henerasyon Party List Representative Bernadette Herrera filed House Resolution number 671 to probe and address the issues that led to the temporary shutdown. The lawmaker said probing the issue can prevent similar issues from happening in the future. She also reiterated that the incident must not happen again. She also called for the modernization of the country's air traffic management system, especially when the Civil Aviation Authority of the Philippines, or CAAP, already reported outdated equipment. According to Representative Herrera, the modernization was already proposed to the national government and should be discussed by Congress immediately. XBB 1.1.5 COVID-19 subvariant spreading in the United States is believed to be a super variant. Health experts say the said subvariant is immune evasive and can infect even those who are vaccinated. Gladys Tuabi tells us why.
XBB.1.5 is said to be the most transmissible Omicron subvariant. This was first detected in the United States and might cause a new surge in the country. Currently, it is infecting more than 20 countries.
So, ang XBB 1.5 has been considered as the most evasive among the subvariant of Omicron against antibodies na produce natin with vaccine. So, ibig sabihin, maski bakunado ka, maski booster ka, pwede ka pa rin mahawaan ng XBB 1.5.
According to Dr. Ron Gensolante, an infectious disease expert, XBB.1.5 is immune evasive, that even those who are vaccinated can be infected. On the other hand, this subvariant can only cause mild symptoms unlike Delta.
Being a highly transmissible virus, pwede rin tataas ang mga kaso natin. No? Pwedeng magkaka-infection uli. Maski meron kang infection na before, pwede ka magka-infection uli. Or pwede ka pa rin magka-infection maski bakunado ka. Pero sa mga ibang bansa, kagaya ng US at sa ibang bansa na nakikitaan itong XBB 1.5, wala silang mga signals or mga senyales or indikasyon na ang XBB 1.5 pwedeng mag-cause ng severe infection. No? So, majority of those infected only have very mild symptoms.
Cough, colds, fever are some of its symptoms. With the mutation of the virus, health experts continue to remind the public to practice health protocols.
Importante pa rin na panatiliin natin yung pagsuot ng face mask, no? Paghugas ng kamay, at more or less, no? Kung may mga sintomas tayo, dapat mag-isolate tayo para hindi naman tayo makaka-contribute na manghawa pa sa iba.
To date, there are no cases of XBB.1.5 detected in the country. Gladys Tuabi, UNTV News and Rescue. We serve the people, we give glory to God.
The decision of the Office of the President clearing the 4 former officials involved in the sugar importation controversy does not affect the findings of the Senate Blue Ribbon. That was according to the panel's chairperson, Senator Francis Tolentino. The senator says the investigation conducted by the three branches of the government are entirely independent proceedings. In September last year, the committee recommended the filing of administrative and criminal charges against Agriculture Undersecretary Leopoldo Sebastian, former SRA Administrator Hermenegildo Serafica, and former board members Roland Beltran and Aurelio Valderrama Jr., following his probe on the botched sugar import order number 4. Meanwhile, Senate Minority Leader Aquilino Coco Pimentel welcomed the decision. He lauded the office of the president for being on the same side as the minority bloc, noting that the office became really objective in investigating the case. The senator adds the decision will at least give the 4 former officials and their families a chance to repair their image and reputation. It can also be recalled that the Senate minority bloc disagreed with the findings of the Senate Blue Ribbon panel, saying that it lacked factual and legal basis.
Myanmar's military leadership have announced a mass pardon to prisoners, as well as its plans for the upcoming election during the country's Independence Day ceremony. Annie Mancilia tells us why live. Good evening, Annie.
Good evening, Jonah. After 2 years since the military took over Myanmar's government, the country celebrates its 75th year of independence. The ceremony began with a speech from the military senior General Min Aung Hlaing, thanking the continuous support of its international and regional partners since they took over the country. They announced a mass pardon to more than 7,000 prisoners. They added that it would not include prisoners convicted of rape, murder, and other unlawful associations. Furthermore, they also said that they will be working together with neighboring countries to improve its border stability as part of their goals for the upcoming election at the end of this month. Russian President Vladimir Putin have also acknowledged the plans to further develop its relations with Myanmar. Meanwhile, the military will be in control of the election process, and Min Aung says that it will be a free and fair election. However, many believe that it is part of their plan to validate their power. Myanmar is currently in a state of emergency, which was put in place right after the military took over the previous government last February 2021. The state of emergency will be lifted at the end of January, in time for the general elections. Back to you, Giona.
Thank you, Annie, for that live report. As the conflict in Ukraine rages on, the Russian president has dispatched a ship armed with hypersonic cruise missiles that will sail in the Indian and Atlantic Oceans and the Mediterranean Sea. Neresa Danda will give us the details live. Good evening, Neresa.
Good evening, Jonah. Russian President Vladimir Putin, Russia's Defense Minister Sergei Shoigu, and the frigate's commander Igor Krakhmal participated in a video conference on Wednesday, January 4, to mark the launch of the Admiral Gorshkov warship. This past year, Russia has launched the latest hypersonic missile system called Zircon from warships and submarines. The weapon is said to travel 5 times the speed of sound and has a range of more than 1,000 kilometers or 620 missiles or 620 miles. Experts believe that the key aspect of hypersonic weapons is their agility rather than their speed, which may sometimes rival or exceed that of traditional ballistic missile warheads. The weapons are regarded as very advantageous over opponents as they can potentially evade missile defenses and early warning systems. According to Russia's Defense Minister Sergei Shoigu, the frigate armed with the missile will sail to the Atlantic and Indian Oceans as well as the Mediterranean Sea. Back to you, Giona.
Thank you, Neresa, for that live report. And those are the reasons behind the news in other parts of the globe. I am Giona Privado, live from London, United Kingdom. Good evening.
The Bureau of Immigration, or BI, announced on Thursday, January 5, that 2 foreign fugitives who were prohibited from entering the country for being undesirable aliens have been intercepted at the international airports in Manila and Cebu. BI Commissioner Norman Tansinco identified the fugitives as Rainer Reinhold Heber, 63 years of age, a German national, and a 30-year-old woman named Chen Qiaolin, and of Chinese descent. Both of them were excluded and booked by BI on the first available flight to their port of origin and were perpetually banned to enter the Philippines after being included on the immigration blacklist. The German national was intercepted upon his arrival aboard a China Airlines flight at the Mactan Cebu International Airport last Tuesday, January 3. Authorities found that he was an alleged recidivist violent offender and sentenced for attempted homicide with 9 years of imprisonment. Meanwhile, the Chinese national was intercepted upon her arrival via a Philippine Airlines flight at the Ninoy Aquino International Airport, or NAIA, last Monday, January 2nd. International Criminal Police Organization, or Interpol, database showed that she is wanted in China for human trafficking and was allegedly involved in illegal online gambling activities and telecommunications fraud. Tansinco stated that the presence of the said Chinese national in the country poses a threat to Filipinos for her involvement in human trafficking activities. Meanwhile, the Philippine Statistics Authority released the latest report of inflation rate in the country for the month of December. Meanwhile, the movement of onion price has contributed to the increase of inflation. Bernadette Tinoy will tell us why.
Food and non-alcoholic beverages have contributed as main reasons of the price increase in the country. In the latest report of Philippine Statistics Authority, or PSA, the inflation rate in the country increased from 8.0% to 8.1% this December. According to PSA Undersecretary Dennis Mapa, the price hike of onions and rice speed up the inflation rate as onions price at 250.
The onion, which is part of the vegetable, for December, medyo substantial yung kanyang, the single commodity, no? Substantial yung kanyang contribution sa inflation. It contributed about 0.3 percentage point in the overall inflation, which is the same as rice.
Meanwhile, the inflation rate in the National Capital Region, or NCR, increases from 7.5% to 7.6% this December. This is after the price hike of restaurants and accommodation services with the inflation rate of 9.5%. Outside of NCR, the highest inflation rate reported is in Region 6 or Western Visayas with 10.5% inflation, while Bangsamoro Autonomous Region in Muslim Mindanao, or BARM, reported as the lowest rate at 6.3%. The public then moved to Kadiwa stores as the goods and services continuously increases its prices.
Sa palengke, napakamahal eh. Dito, halos doble yung presyo doon sa palengke kesa dito eh. Ito pong sibuyas. Kasi mahal ang sibuyas sa palengke eh. Maabot na 600, 700 eh. 170 lang daw po eh. Opo, malaking bagay po. Laki ng diferensya eh.
Sobrang taas kasi sa supermarket. Kahit sa palengke, mas mataas pa nga minsan eh. So, malaking bagay na merong gantong presyo sa Kadiwa.
PSA added that they measure these effects with increase of inflation in the country. Bernadette Tinoy, UNTV News and Rescue. We serve the people, we give glory to God.
Land Transportation Franchising and Regulatory Board, or LTFRB, has opened 6 new routes for public utility buses. Based on the memorandum, the 6 routes will include Antipolo to McKinley via FBR Road, NC5, Antipolo to McKinley Hill via C6, McKinley Hill to Southwoods Mall Transport Terminal, Ayala to Southwoods Mall Transport Terminal, Alabang to Naik via Governors Ave, and Tucubao to Dasmariñas via Governors Drive. LTFRB said the decision to open new bus routes is to provide more public and land transportation to commuters to address the increasing demand of passengers. Operators who are compliant to the omnibus franchising guidelines of bus units will be prioritized for the application. For those watching our live streaming on YouTube, please click the subscribe button you see on your screen and ring the bell for notification. You may also follow us on Facebook. Our kasangbahay, as the world faces these trying times amid the pandemic caused by coronavirus, we are inviting everyone to join the global prayer for humanity.
Good day. I'm Brother Eli Soriano of the members of the Church of God International. I want to invite you to join us in a minute of prayer every day to pray for humanity and the whole world as we go through these perilous times. While safety measures like washing of hands and strengthening of our immune systems may help us through this horrible predicament, there is still no precaution or cure more powerful than God's mighty intervention. And we need His intervention now more than ever. It doesn't matter what religion you are in or what denomination you belong. This is an invitation for all the people around the world who cares for the future of their family, friends, loved ones, and humanity as a whole. Everybody is welcome to pray with us. For more details, you can check out the description box below. Thank you very much, and I hope to hear from you soon. May God bless you.
Before we close, we will leave you with the word, giving glory to God from the book of Ephesians chapter 5, verse 17. It says, "Wherefore we ye not unwise, but understanding what the will of the Lord is." And those are the reasons behind the news, January 5, 2023. Reasons we deliver to you as they unfold. And because we need to know, we will always ask why. I am William Theo. We serve the people. We give glory to God.